insanely through the bends. Come on, Kia! Right. It's a good crop shot. Ow! I've got a horrible feeling I might have to change my mind. You see, ages ago when the BMW iX first came out, I said, it's brilliant, go right ahead and buy that. However, when the Kia EV9 came out, I then said, oh, actually, wait a minute, this is brilliant too. You better go ahead and buy that instead. However, since then, we've now had the Hyundai Ioniq 9, the Polestar 3, and the brand new Volvo EX90. So what does that all mean? I'm gonna have to find out exactly how all these cars compare to see if I got it wrong about the BMW and the Kia. Have things changed? Am I going to change my mind? In this video, I'm going to investigate which of these cars is the very best, and to do that, I'm going to critique their designs and bang. Feels like something from a toy. Thank you, BMW. I'm going to evaluate their interiors, slide through the middle and come and get you. I'm going to test their technology. God, I wasn't in the way of that. I'm also going to see how practical they are and what they're like to drive. Sliding and oversteering. Obviously, we're going to see which one offers the best value for money as well, because that's important. And you know what? We're also going to have a cheeky little drag race. Ah, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. I'm Matt Watson, and you're watching Car Wow. Looks matter even when you're considering a big family-friendly SUV that's powered by electricity. You see, when you're paying this kind of money for a car, you're going to want it to look good, or at least look good in your eyes. So what I'm going to do now is rank the cars in my order of preference for their designs. My least favourite looking is the BMW. I do like the rear, but the rest of it, the side, the front, just don't do it for me. It's just an awkward looking thing, isn't it? What surprised me is that my second least favourite is the Volvo. It's not ugly, it's just a bit boring. Maybe it's this colour. Now, I like the look of the smaller EX30. I think that looks great, but this is like a stretched bigger version. It just doesn't work as well. Considering it's from the same company, the Polestar looks vastly different than the Volvo. It's like some jacked up sporty coupe thingy. The front is very interesting, I like that. The back is a little bit overcomplicated, but overall I like the look of that. Believe it or not, my second favourite is the Hyundai. Now Lewis, who's on camera, did just say it looks like a puffed out old Volvo estate, and I see where he's coming from, but I sort of like that. I see bits of Bentley in it somehow or other, and I like the futuristic lights and the front. I think the front is brilliant. Don't care what anyone else says. I think it's a good looking car. The only problem I'd have is if I took that home to my missus, she wouldn't like it at all. She'd much prefer the Volvo, but I tend to like quirky looking cars. That is definitely quirky. The best looking car, and this is in agreement with everyone else here on this shoot, is the Kia. You know, this is a practical 7-seater family car. Look at it, it looks like something from the future. It's good to compare it to the BMW. I mean, that's how to do it and that's how not to do it. However, while design is very important when choosing a car, when it comes to electric vehicles, range is also a decisive factor. All these cars have enough claimed range to meet most people's needs. However, there is quite a difference between the cars here. What I'm going to show you now is the battery capacity of each of these cars I've got on test, and this is their claimed range. However, things aren't particularly clear cut, because as we know with electric cars, you don't often get close to the claimed range, and that isn't happening here. For each of these cars, we've taken their trick computers and their average energy consumption and multiplied it out by the battery capacity to get a real world range. And the car that fares the worst is the Kia. The claimed range is 313, but our calculated real world range is 202 miles. The BMW iX is supposed to do 403 miles, but our estimated real world range actually comes out to 251 miles. The Volvo is supposed to do 375 miles, it's really doing 255 miles. The Hyundai is supposed to do 372 miles on a full charge, but the real world range is working out to 276 miles. The Polestar is supposed to do 438 miles, but its actually real world range comes to 370 miles. Now, to be fair on all these cars here, those trick computer numbers are probably quite pessimistic, because these cars have been driven by motoring journalists who probably haven't been thinking too much about conserving energy. And you know what, I've done a real world range test when I've driven a Polestar 3 of the same spec as this from a full battery all the way to empty, and it did 390 miles. Admittedly, that was in the summer when the car's more efficient, but I was then trying to conserve efficiency. So I think those numbers that I've given you for those real world ranges are probably worst case scenario. Let's hope so anyway. However, there's another area of contention regarding these cars, and that's their prices. Value for money is a big deal. Yes, people are willing to pay more for a brand name, but ultimately they're still going to be price conscious. So this is the starting price for each of these cars. And this is the actual price of these cars here that I have on test. So then let's see what kind of performance these cars are packing for that money. Right, we're going to start off with the least powerful car here. It is the Polestar 3. It has 300 horsepower. That's because it's the entry-level single motor rear-wheel drive car. As with the Polestar, you can get a single motor and a dual motor version of the Kia. This is actually the dual motor version and it has 385 horsepower. The next most powerful car is this dual motor version of the EX90. It has 408 horsepower. The dual motor Ioniq 9 has 427 horsepower, but the most powerful car here is this BMW. Obviously, it has 544 horsepower, though it's not the most powerful version of this car you can get. That is the M70, which has 659 horsepower. Madness. Do you know what we need to do though? Seeing as it is car wow, let's drag race them. First up, we've got the Polestar against the Volvo. We're going to run this in heat, winner stays on. Let's do it.
Interestingly, both these cars will be updated very soon with different batteries and slightly different motors.
Slow off the line. That's the effect of dual motors. Now for the Kia EV9. Can it beat the Volvo? Whoa. I think his start was a bit slow. This just took off. This definitely took off quicker, but then the gap didn't increase. It's the Volvo out. Bring on the next car. Let's see how this Kia does against its sister car, the Ioniq 9. That's the most powerful version of that. This isn't the most powerful version of this, so this could be humiliating for that if this wins.
3, 2, 1.
This is really quick off the line. Really quick. That looks funny the way its bonnet goes like that. Come on, Kia! Come on, he's coming back now. Ah, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. We can do this, we can do this, we can do it. That was blooming good, that was. I think the Kia just won that. We need to get another challenger. Finally then, we have the BMW, which has launch control. It's the only one that does. Classic BMW. Anyway, how's it going to perform? Can it beat the Kia?
3, 2, 1.
This is off the line so well each time. We're ahead, we're ahead, we're ahead, we're not ahead. Damn! Now this feels like it's going really slowly. The Kia did well, but boy, that BMW is significantly quicker. So, how do the cars' times compare?
Well, the Polestar was the slowest. It did 0 to 60 in 7.2 seconds and took 15.6 seconds to do the standing quarter mile. The Volvo did 0 to 60 in 5.6 seconds and the quarter mile in 14.3 seconds. The Hyundai did 0 to 60 in 5 seconds and the quarter mile in 13.7 seconds. The Kia did the same quarter mile time but was ever so slightly quicker to 60 miles an hour, taking just 4.9 seconds. However, the BMW won. It did 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds and completed the standing quarter mile in 12.7 seconds. However, speed isn't everything. When you're paying 70, 80 or even £90,000 for a family SUV, you're probably more interested in how posh it feels inside.
The Kia has a nice interior, so the overall layout is quite simple, it's quite cool. There's lots of useful storage everywhere. The infotainment system, it's okay, but I do find it a bit confusing at times. But I do like the fact that, look, we have some physical buttons for the climate control. Quality is generally good as well. It's only when you go low down, it's a bit scratchy. I guess this is a little bit wobbly, not too much of a problem though. This car has a sunroof. Now it's a double sunroof. The back part, the blind is electrically operated. But here in the front, you have to do it like you're living in the 1980s. Maybe it's a little bit bland, but it's not too much to complain about. But it is my least favourite because the others are just that little bit better. The Hyundai is very similar to the Kia in terms of quality and looks similar wobbly console. Once again, it's not too bad though. And the infotainment system is very, very similar, apart from it's got a slightly cooler curved screen. I do prefer the controls down here for the climate. They're more detailed, so you can just do everything through this panel. And I like the fact that it's got some silvery bits that just liven things up. The only thing I don't really like though is the feel of the gear selector. Yeah. But at least, unlike the Kia, you have a full-length sunroof and the blind is electrically operated. In third place is the Polestar, and it's quite a tough decision this, because I do really like this interior. The quality, it's on another level compared to the Hyundai and the Kia. Also, the infotainment system is just easier to use. Downside is that everything is controlled by this screen, including the mirrors and the steering wheel, which is a bit of an arse, and of course the climate control as well. But it's not too difficult. I also love the seats and the fabric, very, very nice. Also, special shout out to this steering wheel because it just feels expensive, and it is my favourite of the steering wheels. And that matters, you hold on to this, you spend a lot of time touching it. One problem I have though is that it just feels a little bit kind of claustrophobic in here compared to the other cars. And the view out the windscreen, it just seems smaller and higher dash. And it gives it a sporty feel, but in an SUV I want to feel more like on top of things than in things. Doesn't make any sense at all. Anyway, which car's interior is my second favourite? So it's the BMW, and that's because it's a mixed bag. It could have won because the design is the most futuristic and there's just a feeling of space in here. Also a great view forward, especially compared to that Polestar. It just feels very airy and light, and some of the controls feel really nice and the materials are lovely. But then there's things that let it down, like the materials on the door just feel cheap, and the steering wheel's too fat, and the infotainment system, while the graphics are sharp and everything, I just find it confusing. And just like with the Polestar, you have to control things like the climate through the screen, and it's all, yeah, it's just a bit of a faff. And then there's certain things which are just unacceptable, like this. That is like off a budget hatchback, and once again that's something you're going to touch a lot. Oh, it's such a shame. Could have been so good, but unfortunately those little niggles let it down. So my favourite interior is of course the Volvo, and it's very similar to the Polestar. Surprise, surprise, they're owned by the same company, and things like these stalks just feel way more expensive than in the BMW. The look of it as well, it's just got that right balance of minimalism with tech. So this runs Google like in the Polestar. Yeah, it's a bit of a faff with the climate controls and having to operate the mirrors through the screen, but I can forgive it because everything else is just easy to use, and materials feel lovely, and the design is just cool and absolutely gorgeous wood, this white wood. Mwah! And unlike the Polestar, it just seems more airy. There's a better view forward. I like it a lot. And the seats, so comfy, the comfiest here. And I especially like this wool fabric that you can have for the seats, and it's a no-cost option. I would definitely specify that. It's just so right. Great interior of this car. Love sitting in it. But do I feel the same about this car when I'm actually driving it?
Well, before I can find out, I'm going to give the EV9 a chance to claw back a few brownie points.
Kias aren't supposed to be sporty. They're just not. They're just normal everyday cars. We all know that, right? However, this is a bit of a weird thing driving this, because big, sensible electric 7-seater SUV, and being a Kia especially, you don't think it's going to feel sporty. But if you put this car into sports mode, and I suggest you do because that's the best way to drive it, it weights up the steering and it actually feels surprisingly sporty for a big SUV. You can probably hear things like sliding around the back as I'm going around those corners. That could be your kid if it's not strapped in properly. It's really bizarre. Was not expecting this. So I think if you're just going to get in and drive this for the first time, you'd be like, wow, I'm amazed by this. I'm quite surprised, and I'm surprised in a good way. Thing is, it still does like the normal, like family-friendly 7-seater SUV things well, so it's reasonably quiet when you're cruising. It's quite comfortable as well. It's all well and good. However, there's one thing that really I'm not a fan of. Ruins the experience, actually. It's the brakes. They're just sort of grabby, and that's going to annoy you as the driver, but also annoy your family because it's going to make them feel a little bit sick when you're just like, sorry about that. Sorry everyone. Not ideal at all. Bit of a shame because everything else to do with this car is really nice.
But the thing is, under the skin, this EV9 is basically the same car as the Hyundai Ioniq 9. So, how have these companies differentiated their individual cars? I think I need to investigate.
Hyundai haven't bothered to give this car a sporty feel. They just haven't. They've gone, this is the comfortable version. The Kia can be the sporty one. That's fine. We know what we're doing with this. And it does just feel slightly more comfortable than the Kia. So the suspension's a bit softer. I think it's maybe a bit quieter, apart from one thing. There seems to be like a bit of a wind noise from the rear door, maybe. Could it be the bluff like wheel arches that are causing that? It's a bit of a shame. Other than that though, yeah, it's very, very quiet. There is something that has surprised me though, because you see, the softer suspension means that it does lean more in the bends than the Kia. It doesn't feel as sporty, and the steering, it's just more vague. It's not as responsive as the Kias, even in sports mode. But somehow or other, it actually grips and goes around corners slightly better. Like the Kia, if you get too carried away, it runs out of grip and just pushes on. This one just seems to dig in and go, which is bizarre. I wasn't expecting that. So this is a bit of a surprise. Also the brake, it surprisingly is less grabby than the Kia. It's smoother, more progressive, like the rest of the drive, I guess. I wonder what the Volvo is going to be like. Surely it's not going to be as surprising as this. The way this Volvo drives won't surprise you at all. It drives exactly the way you'd expect a Volvo to. So it focuses on comfort and doesn't really pay much attention to being sporty. So yeah, the air suspension on this car, which is standard on the range topper, is very comfy over bumps. It is the comfiest car over bumps out of this group. Also, it's a very quiet car, so hardly any road noise or wind noise. Makes it feel luxurious. However, when you start to try and push this car hard through some corners, it gets a little bit out of shape. This is the one that feels the heaviest to drive, even though it's the same weight as the Kia and the Hyundai. It just feels a little bit like gaily through the bends, and it doesn't help that the steering is just vague and rubbery. No, not the biggest fan about that. That's what I'm talking about. Don't push it too hard. It won't like it. But Volvo bars will be like, oh, I don't care about that. I don't really mind at all. But there is something you will mind about, and it almost caught me out the other day. So I was pulling out of a junction and a car was coming like, we're out of a roundabout. I've got my family in the car, put my foot down, think, oh, it's got this, electric power. No, there's something weird about this. When you have it in the standard drive mode, not the constant all-wheel drive, and you put your foot down, I'm going to do it now, watch this, 3, 2, 1, foot down, pause, nothing. Now we're going, whereas going to constant all-wheel drive, right, put my foot down, 3, 2, 1, go, picks up straight away. And so you're going to be driving around in standard most of the time, and you're not getting that instant electric car zip away from the lights, or when you're just trying to like pull out at junctions, and it could catch you out. Almost caught me out, almost had an accident in a Volvo, and Volvos are supposed to be the safest cars available. What's that all about? What's really bizarre though is that this car is very similar under the skin to the Polestar, yet they feel very different to drive. So I'm going to jump into that now and explain why. It's a lot lighter than the Volvo because it's just the single motor version. It's about 300 to 400 kilos lighter, and that means it just feels a lot more agile. In fact, the whole setup is just sportier in this Polestar. So the steering, for starters, is really good. It just seems intuitive and sporty and direct and responsive. Overall, this feels the least like an SUV to drive. It's just like a normal hatchback that's like raised up slightly. Now the suspension is firmer than the Volvo and the other cars, but not in a way that makes it uncomfortable. It just means that it feels a bit more planted and flat in the corners. You can get it with air suspension like the Volvo, and then it's easily as comfortable as the Volvo, but without any of the lollopy downsides. I'm amazed just how much I like driving this car. I think Polestar have done a fantastic job with it. Whoa! What? What? What are you doing, Polestar? You're not supposed to be fun. Stop it! You're a Volvo underneath. What's going on? Makes me want to drive it quickly and push it quite hard, which your family's not going to thank you for. So maybe you shouldn't get this car. Stay away from it. Don't buy it. You might make your family feel car sick, although you'll end up going like this until they're sick everywhere and you have to clean it up, and then you'll be like, ugh.
But surely this Polestar can't possibly feel sportier to drive than my final car, the BMW iX.
Let's not mess about. The BMW is the ultimate driving machine at this group if you're a motoring journalist. Now I'll try and explain why. So it's the one that will move around the most, so you can slide it, pitch it in, and it'll start to rotate like, way! Right! Does it more than the Polestar? It's just stupid in a car like this. Way! So I'm like sliding it away. Go on, sliding and oversteering. It's just bonkers. There we go, we're sliding around this corner. We're actually just like four-wheel drifting. It's not. However, and this is a big however, on the road, you don't want to do that. And most people don't do that anyway. And I think that for most people, most of the time, the Polestar feels the sportiest because this BMW steering is just a little bit kind of like vague and wishy-washy. It doesn't feel as pointy or as sharp or as intuitive as the Polestar. Also, the brakes are sort of like okay at first, then really grabby, and then soft again. It's just inconsistent. The controls aren't as good as the Polestars, and Having consistent controls helps a car feel sporty and fun and engaging to drive, rather than sliding around when there's lots of runoff and no cars coming the other way. That's all just motoring journalist nonsense. However, this car is slightly comfier than the Polestar, just a bit more wafty over bumps, ever so slightly quieter, maybe, but not much in it for it to matter. So where does that leave us then? Overall then, I prefer driving the Polestar than this. I think the Polestar's the best. Then it's this BMW. Then I'm going to give it to the Volvo. Whoa! Because it does deliver the comfort. And finally, it's very close between the Hyundai and the Kia, but I'm going to give it to the Hyundai over the Kia just because it's a little bit kind of softer, more in keeping what you want from one of these vehicles. But they're all so close. But while the Polestar and the BMW are noticeably ahead of the other three cars, the rest of them are very tightly matched in terms of the driving. But let's be honest, driving is probably the furthest thing down the list for any buyers of these cars. There's something that matters a whole lot more.
And its practicality, because why would you buy a big family-sized SUV if you aren't planning to carry passengers around all the time? So let's get stuck in and discover how comfortable they are in the back seats. Which car will win?
The Polestar is perfectly spacious in the back. Look, loads of knee room, loads of headroom. Slight issues I have, you sit quite close to the floor, so there's not much under thigh support, and the windows are quite shallow, so it does feel a bit dark in here. But as in the front, I'm loving the quality and the materials. What's it like for three in the back at once? Well, let's try it. Come on then. Right, you're right. Okay, so I find the seat comfortable in the middle, plenty of foot space because it's a flat floor, but oh my gosh, we're competing for shoulder room here, aren't we?
Yeah.
It's not great. So which car is fourth best? So it's the BMW. Once again, easily spacious enough, though knee room isn't as good as in the Polestar. Headroom slightly better, but one thing I do like though is this, much bigger rear windows. Kids will really like that feature. What's not so good though is the backrest seems a little bit too upright for my liking. I want to recline it, but you can't. I do like the materials on the seats though. Let's try it with three in the back at once. Come on then. It's a good crotch shot. Not quite as tight as the Polestar, but still fairly tight. Actually, oh, that's good. Look, I like that. Actually, yeah, this is definitely better than the Polestar for three in the back at once. So then, which car is in third place? I thought the Volvo would win this, but it doesn't. Now, there's not really anything to complain about. It's very, very impressive. So the seats are super comfy. I'm actually sitting a lot higher off the floor than in the other two cars, so it just automatically feels more comfortable. The seats are lovely and supportive. You've got big back windows. You can slide and recline the chairs. There we go. You can actually slide the middle one individually as well. Look, come on. Bear with me. Classic. It's a bit stiff. I'm talking about the seat. So it's very, very good. Now let's try it with three people in the back at once. So come on. This is where it's not quite so great. I think it's better than the Polestar. Maybe not as good as the BMW. But which car's second? As with the Volvo, and the seats of the Kia are a nice way off the floor, so the position is so comfortable. And like with the Volvo, you can slide the seats forwards and backwards, and you can recline them as well. Now look, you can recline them quite a bit further than the Volvo. Yeah, you can sleep in this. Unlike the Volvo though, you can't slide and recline the middle seat individually. It's attached to this outer seat here. But I mean, there is more knee room. Headroom's similar. Big back windows as well. Let's try it with three in the back at once. It's actually slightly better than the, come on James, than the Volvo. Not loads in it, but maybe just a bit more shoulder room. Yeah, I find this more comfortable as the middle seat passenger. How about you two?
Yeah, it's good. Definitely, yeah.
But it's not the winner, is it? Because that is, of course, the Hyundai. Now, this one actually just has two seats in the middle row. You can get it with a three-seater bench, just like in the Kia with the same functionality. The Hyundai's wheelbase is slightly longer, just by about that much, than the Kia's, and as a result, the room is even slightly greater, with so much room. And look, we've got all the slidey and the same kind of crazy amount of reclinability. So spacious, so roomy. Where's the GoPro? We didn't plan to do this test, look, because of course there's no middle seat. But James, do you just want to jump in? And Lewis, just jump in. Let's just try something. Oh, yeah. It may be illegal to travel like this, but even this is all right.
But what if you need to carry even more people? Well, you'll have to ignore the Polestar 3 and BMW iX, as they can only seat 5. But which of the other cars feels more premium and less economy in the third row?
So the worst in the rearmost seats is the Volvo. Let me just get in. Whoop. I mean, it looks lovely with this light fabric, but can you see? I can't even do that because there's not much knee room. It's just a little bit tight back here. And I feel quite close to the floor. There's not much foot space neither. The Kia is significantly roomier. Look at this. So I don't know if the seats are any further from the floor, maybe just a little bit, but it just seems nicer back here. Knee room, still tight, but a bit better. The big thing though is headroom is considerably better. Plus, look what I can do. Way better than the Volvo. I could easily go quite a distance in the rearmost row in this Kia, but it's not quite as good as the Hyundai. Now, it's just a smidge bigger. There's not loads in it, but just enough to feel a bit more spacious. But we are talking millimeters here. Look again with my knees. Headroom's good, and we've got the same reclining feature. I mean, both are pretty blooming impressive in the rearmost row. I can even fit my feet underneath the seat in front, no problem at all. That's really good for a 7-seater. But 7-seaters are all well and good. What happens when you want to carry some luggage? So we're going to try and fill them up with these suitcases, and we're going to start with the 7-seater cars in 7-seater mode. So with all the seats up, the Volvo has 324 litres of space, but how many carry-on suitcases can I fit in it? Let's find out the best way. No, I can't do it like that. Maybe do it like that. Maybe do it like, maybe, yeah, that will be the way. One. I don't really want to go above there too much, but let's see. Maybe. Will that shut? In fact, that won't. That might. That might. 5. That's good, but can the Kia do any better? On paper, the Kia's boot is slightly bigger. It's got 333 litres of space with all the seats up. But let's try and see how many of these suitcases we can get in. Ooh. I reckon that's okay if it will shut. Might need a bit of help, but that's fine. It shut! That's 7. How will the Hyundai do? Because that's supposedly the biggest on paper. So I've got 338 litres of space, but it looks slightly smaller because of the curved boot opening, but let's find out. I think I can pull the same trick as the Kia. Oh, yeah, that'll do. I don't think that's going to shut. Come on. Did. That is 8. That's a win for the Hyundai. But what about when you've got the cars in 5-seater mode? The Polestar has the smallest boot at 484 litres, but what's the reality? Now what we're going to do is make sure the seats are in their furthest back position, and we're going to load suitcases, but they have to fit under the load cover for this test. Let's go for it. I think that's it, don't you? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh. I don't know if this is going to. 7. So the Hyundai fit more in 7-seat mode than the Polestar can fit in 5. Now, to be fair, that is underneath the load cover, but still. I wonder how the BMW is going to do. This is supposedly 500 litres of space. Let's see how many suitcases. Oh. I don't know actually, I might just have to do it like that. This is no chance. That last suitcase is killer, look. Oh, wait, no. 8. Now let's try the Volvo. This boot is significantly bigger, 697 litres. We're going to fit a few more suitcases, I'm sure. Let's go for it. Come on, shut. Ow! That snapped on my fingers. Ow! Ow! This is going to be tough. It's going to need some assistance, but I reckon we've got it. No. Didn't like that. Come on. Come on, Volvo. How many was that? 12. 12. Now for the Kia. Oh, The Kia's boot looks deceiving. You see, technically it's bigger than the Volvo's, but looking at it, it doesn't seem it. 828 litres. I'm not feeling it, but let's find out. Let's go. I think the shape's a bit awkward, isn't it? No, that won't fit under there. Brilliant, great start. No, this is bad. Can I? Does this count? I was good at Tetris. Will it shut? It should do. I think this is going to shut. I forgot. How many was that? 11?
Yeah, 6, 4, I mean, what was it?
11! Finally, Hyundai. You can't believe everything you read, because according to the paperwork, this car has 908 litres of boot space. But the platform's the same as the Kia, and the shape looks the same, and I think I'm going to get the same amount of suitcases in. Let's find out. I think that's it. That's 11 as well, but I've packed them differently. I've got this extra space here that I feel like oh, I haven't even shut it. It doesn't count until it's shut. I'm glad I wasn't in the way of that. That would catch you out, wouldn't it? Yeah, 11.
That's all very impressive, but what happens if IKEA has a sudden clearance sale and you need to pack your car with as many half-price Billy bookcases as possible? How easy is it to convert all these cars into two-seater van mode?
All the seats in the Hyundai are electrically operated, which makes it easy to fold them down. It's the same with the Kia. The rearmost seats in the Volvo are electrically operated, but the middle row have to be operated by hand. It's the same story with the Polestar. However, with the BMW, its back seats are electrically operated.
But it's not all good news for the iX, because it's the only car here that doesn't have a front boot. The Polestar's Fruit measures 32 litres, the Volvo's is 34 litres, and the Kia and the Hyundai both have 52 litres of fruit space. So where does that leave us?
All things considered, I think the best car when it comes to carrying luggage is the Hyundai, then the Kia, and then the Volvo. And I know the Volvo fitted one more item in with 5-seat mode, but it's a 7-seater. It didn't carry as many in 7-seat mode as these two. And then it's the BMW, and last of all, the Polestar. And that actually brings me on to the annoying things about these cars.
Starting with something I find particularly frustrating in the Volvo.
To save space, or more likely money, rather than having individual switches for each window for the driver's side, you have this toggle switch to toggle between the front and rear. So look, I'm operating the front windows, then if I want to operate the back windows, I have to press this button down, change it, and then I can do the back window. And if I want to change to the front again, I have to press that again and then operate the front window. It's the same with the Polestar.
And it's not the only annoying thing about that car either.
The boot release on the Polestar is really low down, so it's horrible on a day like today when it's all covered in road grime. Look, it's all the way down there. Actually, it's the same on the Volvo, and I want to show you something else. You're probably thinking, can you just rub those water droplets off? No, I can't. Look, because they're actually inside this plastic. It's full of condensation. That's terrible.
But there's a problem with this Kia that's given me a lot more headaches than Polestar's leaky tail lights.
Even though the roof is quite high, especially with the bars on top, this opening is lower than you think. Look, it comes up to about my chin. Right. As a result, because these seats are quite high, I've bashed my head once or twice getting in just because I don't think it's that low. So I've been like that, going bang, like that. Right, remember this, look? Watch this on the Hyundai. See that? It's higher, isn't it? So I haven't done it on the Hyundai.
However, this car definitely isn't perfect.
The look and feel of the interior door handle in the Hyundai, just let it down. It's just, it feels like something from a toy, and I just don't get on with the design either.
But at least it isn't messing up my jeans like the BMW. Let me show you what I mean.
Unlike all the other cars here, the doors don't cover the sills and the sills protrude a bit, so when you're getting out you end up just like that. See, notice that back of my trousers is all over the sill. That's covered in dirt, it's now all over my trousers. You can't tell so much because they're grey, but I know it's there and now I need a wash. I was hoping to get an extra few days wear out of them, but I can't now. Thank you, BMW.
However, it's not all bad news. The BMW has another feature that I do really like.
The car's sounds have been composed by Hans Zimmer. Listen, this is sport sound, then there's efficient sound, which is actually no sound. Then there's expressive. Whoa, that sounds like something that's bad's about to happen. Then there's relax. Spa music. And then, is there any more? Digital art. Is there anything else? Silent. I like this one. Relax. I definitely need more chill in my life, that's why.
And speaking of chill, the Kia has a feature specifically designed to make your passengers feel a bit more zen.
You can move the front passenger seat forwards and backwards and recline it from the back here, because these buttons on the side. And actually, if you're sat in there, you might want to press this other button, which puts it into relax mode. Look, it's even got some undercalf support.
The Polestar doesn't have the Kia's fancy seats, but it does have a clever bit of automotive origami in the boot.
The Polestar has a functional boot floor. Look, if you need to stand things up, you can do this. I can put them in there and separate things so stuff in there doesn't roll around.
Unfortunately, we can't get this in the 7-seat Volvo EX90, but that car does have another cool feature that I really like.
The Bowers & Wilkins stereo on this range-topping version of the Volvo is brilliant. So you've got 1600 watts of power, you've got 25 speakers, including speakers in the headrest, and you have Dolby Atmos. I'm trying to press this button to make it do this thing where look, you can do stage, Abbey Road, so you make it have different sound profiles. It is so good. I'd play it you, but you just won't appreciate it through the speakers on your mobile phone. Or we can't do it because of copyright. That's the real reason, isn't it? Yeah.
And while we're on the subject of phones, the Hyundai has a cool piece of tech I've never seen on any car before.
So this here, right? That UVC, if you open this little compartment there, it beams UV light in there, so you can put your mobile phone in there and it'll sanitize it. And check this out, right? Look at that. What's the point of that? I'll show you what the point of that is. Look, I can now slide through the middle. Come and get you. Oh yes, come here. So then, what's my final verdict? Well, if you only need 5 seats, get the Polestar. It's a great car.
However, if you need 7 seats, it's got to be between the Kia and the Hyundai, and it's very, very close. The Kia definitely looks the best, so if that's really important to you, get the EV9. But the Hyundai is slightly more practical, it has a nicer interior, and it's better value for money, and that's why it wins this test.